Welcome to SAS, short and sweet tips for the business sector from the Case Mastermind group. Hello and welcome to the Entrepreneur SAS Tip Show, where SAS represents short and sweet, a place where you can get easy and straight to the point tips around your entrepreneur journey. I'm your host, Patrick Twitchett, and today I have a fantastic guest. So please let me tell you a little bit about them first. Alan Martin from Vision Reach specialises in streamlining business process and IT systems. Alan's almost 20-year career in IT took him across the complete IT spectrum, from starting in IT support and networks and databases through to business analysis and IT management. Throughout his career, he has used IT as a tool to streamline various business processes, which has been a need as business IT spend continues to increase, yet the speed at which we do things tends to slow, and there never seems to be enough time in the day. Alan has worked in manufacturing, warehousing and distribution, and online retail, to name but a few, both globally and nationally. So I'm very pleased to welcome to the show today Mr. Alan Martin. Hello, Alan.
Hi, Patrick.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for that warm introduction.
That's all right. Thanks so much for coming on the show today. I understand you have some tips for us today, so please tell us what subject they're going to be based around.
So what we're going to look at today is the art of streamlining your business processes and IT systems. So how do you do more, and the tools that you should be using in order to get more done in your day.
Excellent, excellent. So without further ado, being that it's short and sweet tips, we're going to move straight into tip number one. So I understand you've got about 5 tips for us today. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. So, tip number one.
Fire away with tip number one, Alan.
My apologies. Tip number one is understand how you want to work or the problem that you're looking to resolve. Now I'm going to say something a little bit radical here. Everybody tries to jump in and says, I need a system to look after my stock. So they go off and get a stock management system. I'm going to tell you, just forget what we think we know about systems and software or what's out in the market. Just forget about it and really understand what it is that you are looking to achieve and what it is that you want to do and how you want to do it. A system for me is not something that should dictate your process. You should tell the system how you want to work. So it's absolutely paramount that you understand how it is that you want to work. So if you've got an existing business already, you know, it's one word of warning actually before I go down that road is that it's always hard to think of problems in your existing processes. Now, it's not because it's a difficult thing to do. It's more of that we have this thing called the unconscious mind. And then deep down, when we believe that something is what it is and it's never going to change, we don't raise it as an issue, and therefore we don't start looking at it as a problem, as something to fix. So that's why it's even more paramount to really start with a blank sheet of paper and understand how it is that you want to work. Look at your customer journey. How often do you want to be in communication with the customer? Look at all of that whole thing. When do you want to be reordering your stock? All of that sort of thing, that whole journey from start to finish needs to be considered right up front before you even think about what the system can deliver. You need to know what you want to deliver, and then look to go out and find the right system in order to do that. Now, if you're a startup, and I appreciate I've spoken a lot there about existing businesses, but if you're a startup, again, the same applies. Before you get going, start thinking about how you want to work, what you want the systems to do for you, before you get along that journey. It's more time consuming once you get along that journey and you start dealing with the day-to-day stuff of your business. It's always more difficult and more time consuming to then take a step back, the time that you haven't got once you get going, take a step back and start looking at these things. So get it right. My advice to startups is just get it right at the beginning. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to think about, you know, oh, crikey, well, that's not going to work. That's going to work. Just have an efficient process at the beginning, which you can then tweak as time goes on. So don't be 100% perfect, but at least be, you know, sort of 60-70% of the way there will be great, because otherwise you will pay for it in the long run.
Okay, that's great. And yeah, I think there's a balance in there, isn't there? Because it's almost like that ready, fire, aim scenario. Too many people spend too long, or can spend too long lining everything up before they start a business, that it almost becomes procrastination because they're looking for perfectionism. But what you're saying is at least step back, think how the process is going to be, not necessarily for you, but with the customer in mind. So you're seeing how they're going to see their side of the process, and look at it from their standpoint. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everything that we do, if I can add a bit of extra meat there, you know, everything we do is about the customer. Now, I referred to, you know, purchasing of stock there. Purchasing of the stock, you should always have your customer in mind, because you start talking about lead times and how it impacts the customer. So everything that we do in our business is about the customer in mind. So yeah, absolutely. Always keep the customer in mind, and how do you want to work? Think about that also, as in, how do we, as if we were the customer, how would we like to have that interaction, or, you know, the efficiency within that business? So think of it from a customer point of view as well as an internal point of view as well. I think there's an extra tip for you.
Absolutely. And yeah, so a lot of brainstorming linked around what you're going to do before you start. So that's really good. Okay, so that takes us nicely up to step number 2 now, does it, Alan?
Certainly, and step number 2 is, I sort of alluded to this already, but map out and time with another pair of eyes. Now, the another pair of eyes is absolutely key there, because in large manufacturing businesses, my background's manufacturing, but particularly large companies, when they're using the lean toolkit, you would have heard that a lot if you spent time in manufacturing. One thing that they are big on, Kaizens, and that is a cross discipline team. It's not made up of everybody within that department that deals with that process day in, day out. It's actually a combination or a collection of individuals, so from that business area, but also from all the other business areas, or someone from outside. And now what that does is that helps that different view set. You know, if you're stuck into the process, if you're stuck in the process day in, day out, you're not necessarily going to see things that other people are going to see from the outside. But also, if you are looking at that one process, then you also want to understand the impact that the output of that process has on the next department or the person that's receiving the output, and likewise how that input gets into that process. So it's good to have that other area of the business in there as well. So it's important to have cross discipline. So getting back to step 2, really, is use that other pair of eyes to map out the whole, everything that you're doing, your existing process, map it out, but more importantly, time it as well. And the reason why you time it is because we tend to think of that unconscious mind that I've already referred to. We tend to think, particularly, especially when we don't enjoy something, we tend to think they take longer than what they actually are. Now, you could put all of your effort into trying to fix something that isn't really a problem, that is not taking you as long as you think it is. when in actual fact, if you're then doing, it works the other way around. If you're then doing something you like, you tend to think, it doesn't take me that long. When in actual fact, the timing exercise and the mapping exercise actually produces some dare I say, harsh realities, but some very shocking results. And you'll be surprised in how long you actually spend on certain bits of the business where you never thought that you would. So it's always a worthwhile exercise to map out and time, particularly with another pair of eyes. But one thing I will also add to that is, and I sort of said, look at this single process, and I sort of alluded to it when I said get other people involved, but map the whole process. So don't just take one problem in silo. If you're tackling that problem, look all around that. How does that get into that process and go out of that process? Because a lot of businesses that have the mentality of continuously improving tend to pick up a problem, fix the problem, and then they move on to the next problem, fix the problem. And because there is no synergy or no joined up thinking around all of that, they tend to end up with these little things, in particular systems, whether it be an Excel spreadsheet or something, that you got one thing here, one thing here, one thing here, one thing here. And it's sorted out those little problems, but the overall process has actually increased the processing time. So try not to, once you do have a problem to look at, understand the whole picture, understand the whole process, and map that entirely. And yeah, don't work with it in silo. And also, again, I've spoke about existing processes, but map out, and sort of alluded to this in stage one, map out what the to-be process is as well. So if you're a startup, obviously you haven't got a process yet, map out what you want it to be. If you've got an existing process, map out your existing processes, time it, but also map the to-be process, removing all of that stuff that doesn't provide value.
Okay, yeah. So very much of a stand back, holistic approach. Stand around, and preferably stand around with a few other people, if you can, and get their input and feedback. Okay.
Absolutely. Independent eyes work extremely well, because you can get lost in it. So yeah, the other bit, map out in time, I'm sure everybody knows that, but definitely the other pair of eyes is key, and one that's been very good throughout the years for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would imagine a well-trained eye, someone who's got experience in business processes and those sort of things is going to be a lot more beneficial, isn't it, as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the bigger the, I mean, you obviously don't want too many people involved, but certainly you want people that have that different set of eyes, but also the ability to be able to extract information out of people and processes that you wouldn't necessarily think about.
Yeah. I think, it's you don't ask a gardener to come and look under your bonnet to help fix your car. If you've got trouble in the garden, you're asking. But you want a car mechanic to look under the bonnet, and I think it's the same with anything, isn't it? It's got to be someone with a bit of knowledge around that. Excellent. No, that's really good. Okay, so moving on then, does that take us now into step number 3 or tip number 3?
Yep, so tip number 3 is identify the waste and the value. Now, 2 words that are chucked about incredibly a lot. But firstly, you need to understand what those words actually mean. And the big one is value. Understand what value means. Now, I remember going to a seminar when I was starting out, and there was this business coach, and they said, understand your value. Of course, I was intrigued, because value to me, in a processing sense, I know what that is. But what they were getting over was that for a business owner, understand what your value is. Is your value working endless hours within your business, or is it being at home, doing what you love, spending time with the family? That's one angle to look at value. But also, so look at the value of yourself, look at the value that of your team members. Where should they be? Should they be working ridiculous hours, to be blunt, in your business? Or should they be at home again, enjoying time with the family, doing what it is that they love? They work to live, not live to work. So firstly, understanding the value of those that are in the process, whether that be yourself as a business owner, or the team members that are doing it, is key, because that's a good starting point to understanding what it is that you're trying to achieve. And also think within the process, value for me is very different to how normal process people would really think. Value in a process for me is anything that makes you money, that gets you to that making money bit. So the value for me is not creating the invoice. People would argue, well, actually the act of creating the invoice means that I actually get the money in, but the act of actually creating the invoice provides no direct value in that. What provides the value is getting that invoice to the customer and then paying it. The value is having that money in my account. And likewise, getting the order out to the customer. The customer doesn't care the steps that you have to go through. The value for them is to have that product on their doorstep or in their hands. That's the value. So how you get there is totally irrelevant. So for me, value is a very different concept to normal process people. But that leads me on to waste. And as you can probably guess my answer to what waste is. Waste is anything that takes time that you're not getting any value out of. So again, if you ever see my diagrams, compare that to another process person, you'll see a lot of red X's, a lot of this is waste, this is waste, this is waste, a lot more than others. Because again, for me, it's not the in between. The value is the end, is the output. So how you get there as quick as possible, how you get there is totally irrelevant, as I've already said to the customer. All of that for me is waste until you get to that point. Even the processing of an order is waste, because there is no real value, yet we have to do it in order for the customer to get there. So understanding, firstly, understanding what value and waste is, and the meaning behind them, will help you understand what it is that you're trying to achieve, and what it is that you really shouldn't be doing within your process.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, that's a real. Yes, it's approaching it from both ends of the spectrum, isn't it? The value, essentially the value to the customer, isn't it? Mm-hmm. The end user.
Yes, correct. Yeah, absolutely. Again, it's always the customer in mind, and I don't mean for this to be all about the customer, but it is absolutely it's customer. Granted, the customer doesn't want to necessarily pay an invoice because you have to part with money, but nonetheless it's understanding the value. If that value is what the customer wants, then in the sense of a product delivery, then that's where the value is. Get it to them as quick as possible. If the value is in somebody paying an invoice, well, let's avoid the hurdles and make them pay as quick as possible, so you can then reinvest in your business or whatever.
Yeah, and I think customers nowadays, we're all becoming much more impatient. Technology's increased our pace of life, and people want things or expect things, I think, is that much quicker. And it's all about, we're purchasing stuff. When's the delivery time? Oh, it's not tomorrow. Why not? We're getting to that stage, and it won't be long before it's, we're getting same day delivery on stuff now. And it's only going to continue to increase. So, the guy who's got the processes streamed down is going to be ahead of the competition. So, yeah, that makes really good sense there. Definitely. Okay, so that takes us now, then moving on from step number 3 to step number 4. Take us on from there, Alan.
So tip number 4 is find the right system. Now, there's a reason why I emphasize the right system. Now, a lot of people will go out, again, as I said at the beginning, that I need a stock management system or I need an accountancy system. Right, I'll go out and get that. What's the one that stands out the most? Oh yeah, it's the market leader. When in actual fact, is that right for you? So you've done all of this work up front, you've mapped it out, you've understood the problems that you want to solve, and then you're going to chuck that all away and just use the one that Fred down the road is using, or just because you heard it on the radio, because they've got the biggest marketing budget. The point I'm getting at is finding the right system. So take all of that groundwork that you've done, the timings, the mapping, and the vision of how it is that you want to work, and put that into your system selection. Don't just go, I need an accountancy system. Oh yeah, I need a stock management system. Oh yeah, that integrates with that. I'll go for that. Because you fall into the trap of not working the way that you want to work, and then working in an inefficient way, irrespective of the fact that they all join together and link and share information. So what I would say is, again, don't listen to those with the biggest marketing budget, the ones that you'll always see. Really do your homework and find the right system. One term I'm going to use is best of breed. Now, a lot of people will say you need the best of breed, and absolutely right. You need the best of breed for what it is that you're trying to do. So again, I say a lot about inventory, about stock inventory. Use the best of breed for stock inventory. But again, best of breed does not mean it's the best in the market, because it might not be the market that you're sitting in. What you need, the best of breed, is something that is suitable for you, that works for you, the way that you want to work, for your business, for your cultures, and the team members that are going to be doing it. But also, it has to match the process. I see a lot of customers with Shopify. Here's a great example of not necessarily finding the right system. So a lot of people use Shopify, great product, sell online, do your website, brilliant. And they integrate that with their accountancy system. Yeah, great. It's a good starting point. But the reason why they choose Shopify is because it's an online ordering, and they can do very simple stock management. And that's the problem. It has very simple stock management. You then get to the point where you start ordering bulks of things. This is just an example. You buy a box of 100 of something, but you're going to sell them in singles, or you're going to rebox them into 2s or 3s. Shopify isn't going to help you with that. Suddenly you've introduced an Excel spreadsheet into the equation, for example, which is another system, which you then have to deal with. How do you then account for that in your stock management system? So your Excel spreadsheet is there to say, right, I've got this 100 right now, I've broken down that 100, and now I've remade it into 2. So you're doing your assemblies and disassemblies and whatever else. Now, suddenly you've put the stock in Shopify, the stock's come in, you've raised all of that in your accountancy system. You've then had to break that down through a spreadsheet. You've then calculated what you're going to do. You then have to adjust the stock manually in Shopify, and then start selling all of that. And you're doing that whole chain again. Yet, what if you had a system, a proper stock management system, that would allow you to place a purchase order for 100? When that gets receipted in, it automatically breaks that all down into the components that you're needing, how you put it directly on your shelf. Instantly saves you time. So I mean, that's a bit of a crude example, but that goes to show that a lot of people go, stock inventory, right, let's I can use Shopify for that, and I can use that for my website, brilliant. But it's not necessarily what you need and what it is that you do. So again, so when I say best of breed, Shopify works for some businesses very, very well. Some that are very simple, in-out stock, and haven't really got any assemblies, disassemblies, anything like that. and so that could be, you know, you could say that's best of breed for its thing. Yes, it is, but it doesn't mean it's best of breed for you or right for you.
Yeah.
And I appreciate I'm going on a bit because I'm quite passionate about this. One thing I will say is bespoke software. A lot of people look at this bespoke software. Let's have something created because it will fix all of our problems. Well, it doesn't, because bespoke introduces other problems. You know, you have a support aspect with bespoke software, but there is a huge cost element to bespoke software. We're not just talking the immediate cost, we're also talking about the ongoing cost of bespoke. And as your business will change, you know, this applies to startups as well, you know, bit of advice to them, they will always evolve. I remember in my first year and second year and third year, my business changed considerably. And so you're going to have to build those changes in. So bespoke, yes, whilst people argue it could give you that flexibility, it also comes with a huge price tag. But there is a huge array of software out there. There's hundreds of thousands of bits of software that are very, very cost effective, that do a very good job. You just need to find the right one that suits you, because you know, you can end up paying 30, 40, 50 pound a month for these cloud-based systems, or 10, 20, 30 grand for a bespoke system, and that's without even thinking about the ongoing support. So it's always well worth seeing what's out there and really look at what it is that you want from it. But also don't overlook, for those that are already using already have existing processes in their business, so established businesses, don't overlook the tools that you already have. You know, too many times people look to a new system as a golden bullet to fix all of the problems in their business. Chances are you're not maximizing the tools that you've already invested in. You know, I've got businesses, I know I mentioned Excel earlier, you know, and a lot of people will say, oh, if you're using a lot of Excel spreadsheets, then that's when you need to start looking at another system. Not necessarily. There's still some very valuable ways that you can use Excel and squeeze a lot more out of it. It's not just about formulas and pivot tables. You can achieve so much more automation from Excel that you're not already using. So if you are looking at Excel, don't instantly jump to going, I need a brand new system. What am I maximizing? Am I maximizing the tools that I'm already using, the existing systems that I'm using, not necessarily Excel. I'm not promoting use Excel to run your business, by the way. And lastly, because I appreciate I'm going on, it's meant to be short and simple.
No, it's fine. You're fine.
One system is not always best, is what I'd say. You know, a lot of people will go, right, oh, I'll have this system because it does my CRM, I can do my invoices through it, I can process my orders through it, etc., etc. One system is not always good, because, like I said before, you want the best of breed. So just because you can do a little bit of your stock management within a CRM system, you don't want, is that module, that stock management module, actually making you work harder than what it would with another system that is best of breed or right for your system? You know, don't forget that systems nowadays can all interlink with each other. Even if they say they don't, chances are they will. And therefore, it suddenly opens up an array of possibilities. You can have the best of breed for each area of your business, as opposed to one solution that's very good at accountancy, is okay at order processing, is great at purchasing, but is mediocre at stock management. You know, you want to be picking the best bits, or the best bits of software, and putting those together. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. You know, your business, your systems, your processes is a jigsaw puzzle. You want the best bits and then put them together.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So yeah, I see it, because there is so much out there today, and it can be overwhelming. You tap it into Google. I'm sure we've all done it. Oh, right, we were looking for a bit of software. What does this? And then you just get this huge list. There's all the reviews on there. You do need some sort of expert guidance, I think, as to what direction you're going to take, because you know software is a big investment and a big part of the business, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And what you said about Google there, the recent one is Facebook groups. You know, everybody says I want recommendations for Facebook groups, and you know, unfortunately, I've had a few people that said, well, it was recommended to me. And it's like, yeah, but it's not suitable for you. You know, it works for them. And I appreciate I'm starting to repeat myself now, but I think it's quite an important point that you need to find the right system that's suitable for you. Yes, go out there, do a bit of homework, look at the reviews, look at, you know, even look at those that are in the same field as you, but don't instantly think that those are in the same field as you just because they're using that system that is right for you. Even, may I add, even systems that say they are specific to your sector don't necessarily mean that it's right for you.
No, absolutely. Yeah, and I think we can have a tendency to do that, can't we? Someone else is really successful and they're using this. So, but if their business isn't exactly the same as ours, which no businesses are like people, there's no one exactly the same. It's got to be unique to that business. So, yeah, totally get that. So, okay, brilliant. So there was tip number 4 there. So that leads us on to our final tip number 5.
Yep, tip number 5, and for me this is crucial. So tip number 5 is continuously review. You know, once you've done all of this work, you've mapped out your existing processes or your to-be processes, you've then found the systems that fit that. Always review, constantly review. I mean, you should be doing this as a business, and for me, this should be paramount to, or one of the central things to a business. In the always review. You know, I sort of said earlier that you know, your business will change year 1, year 2, all throughout. As time goes on, your business will change, and you need to bring your processes and your systems along with that journey, because what you don't want is to be developing your business, introducing new products. You know, if you're stocking stuff, you then start making your own products, but your systems are lagged behind, because before you know it, you'll end up in a position, well, you'll end up in a lot of mess and a lot of difficulty, and you're going to need someone to pull you out of this. So what I will say is continuously review and continuously evolve your processes in the same way that your business evolves.
No, that's great. And I think while you were saying that there, I was thinking of like a production line, because whatever processes we do in a business, even if they're all on a PC, it's still like a production line, because if one part of that production line is not as efficient as the rest, everything coming up the production line is just going to bottleneck behind that one weak spot, and it's going to hold everything else back. It's going to cause a lot of frustration for people and cause lots of errors and issues and all that sort of thing. So, yeah, I think it is a really important aspect, isn't it?
Yeah, and you're right about the whole conveyor belt effect, because it is exactly that. You know, the last thing you want is bottlenecks, and they will appear more and more as your business evolves and you don't evolve your process. So continuously review. The other, if you're a business that's been going and you have a team of people, the benefit of having those people reviewing your processes and giving them the ability and and empowering them to continuously review how they work, how the business works, has a knock-on effects for productivity as well. You know, it's, everybody loves the ability to be able to change what they do, and giving them the ability aids this whole thing of continuously review. You know, let them continuously review every quarter, perhaps, as a minimum, I would say. You know, down tools, and just, right, we're going to do a mapping exercise. What are our pain points? Let's tackle them. Let's find a way out of this. What do we need? what tools do we need? You know, do we need extra training, etc., etc. And by the way, whilst I mentioned training is absolutely key, because when I said previously about finding the right systems, and don't overlook what you already have, a lot of it comes from the fact that you don't know that your existing systems can do that. So training, identified training. So continuously review in the same way that you do your people, your business continuously changes. Do that with your processes and your systems at least every quarter.
No, that's good, and I think we divide the year up into quarters, and I think that is a good way of doing things. If you're going to implement a new system, you've got that time for it to be used. Then you're getting feedback. How did that change impact? And you talking there about putting people in from the front line, everyone that's involved in that process, enabling people to have an input and have a say, because everyone's got different opinions and everyone can bring something in, and the more of that we can get, the more effective it can be. Even maybe, Alan, even asking customers for feedback about a change system as well, and going beyond the organisation, but to outside, to the customers who are in effect part of that organisation, because without them the organisation wouldn't exist, to actually pull in their opinion. We're doing a new system, we're doing it a different way, we love your feedback, and at least again that enables customers to feel they're part of it as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I always say, I actually preach, in fact, that your business is not just you. Your business is your customers and even your suppliers. So, yeah, where certainly where appropriate, bring them in. Absolutely bring them in, because ultimately they're the people that's going to benefit. But also look at, just because you sort of mentioned the customer and I mentioned the supplier aspect, also think about the processes that go towards your suppliers. What your suppliers deliver to you has an impact on you. And you spoke about bottlenecks. Your bottleneck could be at the supplier, but it's affecting your business, so it's your bottleneck, not the supplier's bottleneck. So also look at that as a process. They're not independent of your business. They might have a different name, but they're not independent of your business, because you still rely on them. Your whole, your supply chain is your supply chain. So that whole process absolutely contains not only the customers, but also your suppliers. So yeah, absolutely, you should be thinking external as well.
Excellent. Okay. Well, thanks for that valuable input for our listeners today. And like I said, we always throw a few questions in at the end to the individual, because we're all on a journey. We've all been on a journey, and it's good sometimes to share those experiences. So there's a couple of questions. And the second one has got a couple of slants to it, but the first one is, if you had to start again from scratch with very little money, no contacts, what would be your first action steps? Almost, if you could go back to your younger self, what would you say, or what would you do?
Crikey, that's a good question. I think for me, it would be to identify what my weaknesses are and to work on them. Take advantage of the free information that's out there, the seminars that are out there. And, if a bit of advice to my younger self at the start of the journey would be prepared to get out your comfort zone. Because if you're starting from scratch, you haven't got any money, you haven't got any contacts, you're going to have to get out there in the big wide world. Now, for some people, sales, marketing, all of that becomes very natural, or comes very naturally. It doesn't for me. I like relationships, but to get out there and really knock on some doors without any way of getting in there in the first place, is quite daunting for me, or was. So I would say to get all the advice that you can that's out there, and you take advantage of the free information that's available from the government and various other parties, and be prepared to get out of your comfort zone, because without any money you're gonna find that you're gonna have to do a lot yourself, and sales are just one aspect, but yeah, you want to also get to the point, have a plan, do that in a view of knowing that you're not going to be doing it all the time, because if it's not a strength now, yes, it will get stronger, but it will never be a strength. So you need to have an exit strategy, if you like, of who's going to take that baton.
Yeah, no, very good bit of advice there, Alan. You might want to tilt your camera down a bit. You're just down the bottom of that. That's it. That's a lot better there. That's a lot better. So moving on from that question, what has been the most groundbreaking moments in your life purpose and success? We'd like to hear your hardest moment, but also the best moment as well.
I think for me, the hardest moment in the journey has been, which inevitably you will get, are those times where, oh dear, I haven't got any orders in, or my forecasting is such that, hang on a minute, I've got nothing coming in here. This is particularly when it's yourself. This is my livelihood. Where am I going to get the money from to survive this month, or how am I going to pay these bills, or and that for me, I've been there, and I'm sure many others will hopefully relate to that have been along the journey that both me and you have. It is very, very difficult, and it's a mindset. You have to be very strong, I think, to dig yourself out of there and really just carry on, because eventually you carry on doing what you're doing. It worked before, so it's going to work again, and you will eventually come out of it. But you do have to work at that. There's nothing wrong with looking at other ways to get money in. I'm not saying rob a bank, but for example, rather than going out there trying to get a sale, if it's just yourself, look at the skill that you're offering. Is there a contracting opportunity, for example, or a temp opportunity for you to really continue living whilst you're waiting for them to come in? So the hardest moment for me was really that period of time where nothing was coming in, and you start to think, well, hang on, can I carry on doing this?
I think business opens us to, because we have these ideas and we think everybody's just going to run out and grasp our idea and what we do, and it never pans out like that. And you do have to be your own biggest advocate and get out there and broadcast your message, let people know what you're doing. And for a lot of us, that doesn't come natural. They're all learned things that we pick up along the way. And a lot of it's out of necessity, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. No, it's difficult, and as you say, it's those weaknesses. Some people are very good at spreading that message. Some people aren't. So, but even then, if you are good at spreading that message and blowing your own trumpet, it all takes time. So just to sort of add a bit of meat there, further meat, that it does take time. So if anybody's in that position of that hardest moment that I experienced, then it takes time. Just find a way to get through that time period. But there is a way out. Just carry on doing what you're doing. Get your message out. Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I sort of said a lot there for the hardest moment.
Right.
The best moment. The best moment, I mean, at this stage, it'd be easy to say when you finally get that order in after experiencing the hardest moment, but it's not. For me, the best moment, thinking about what it is that I do, is when one of my first customers walked into the business. and we identified a huge amount of savings, time savings, and fixed a lot of their problems. I mean, we're talking 73% order processing time, various savings across the business, and just to have that is like, wow. Actually, it was like the shining moment that said, actually, I have got a great product here, I have got a great service, you know, I am doing something right, and there are people out there that really need this. And I think as business owners, we all need that moment of saying, actually, is my service, especially if it's slightly unique, you know, is this really something that's really sellable, that's really wanted? Because there's no point having a product if it's not wanted or needed. So for me, the best moment was to walk into that customer and then come out after a few days and go, wow, they're in such a much better place now. You know, they're now going off and focusing on sales because they've got that huge capacity that, you know, where before they were looking at potentially having to hire more staff. Now they don't have to, but yet they can soak up more sales and various other things. So, you know, just to have somebody walk in there, the first thing where we achieved so much was an enlightening moment for me to say, we're on the right track. We've got something good here.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I think that's where our passion should lie. We, you know, if we really enjoy what we do, then we never have to work another day in our lives. And if we enjoy what we do and then we go out and we achieve that with a customer, that's like massive elation, isn't it? It's like, this is the big one. It's great to do some things with your business, but when you make a great achievement, you see the impact that has on somebody else, there's a real sense of fulfillment. And then it just goes way beyond the money. The money, it also almost rolls into insignificance, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's not just what you just said about people. It's not just the impacts on the business that I said. It's to have the team members go, oh, I can breathe now. Was, you know, and the impact that it means for them. You know, they can go home early and or on time is a good starting point. Is you know, was just absolutely fantastic to see the impact that it has on someone as an individual, not just a business, is great for me. And I appreciate that doesn't resonate to perhaps to a lot of people, because they're not necessarily doing what I'm doing and having that impact. But you know, particularly when you're selling a specific product that somebody needs, like a pen, funny enough, you know, that's not going to produce that. But for me, that's so important. And it's when I said before about understanding value, that's more valuable than paying the invoice for me, because again, it knows that I'm doing the right thing. It doesn't mean that people can't pay their invoices, but you know, for me, that's where the value lies for me. It's taking somebody from a stressed environment into a place where actually we're doing more without any more people or resources is phenomenal.
Yeah. No, absolutely. No, that's brilliant. So thanks for that today, and thanks for sharing those experiences, Alan. Before we go, please tell the audience if anyone would like to get in touch with you, follow you, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
So you can do the classics: email, telephone. Email is alan.martin@visionreach.co.uk, or you can call me 01206 645 053. Yeah, hopefully that I'll speak to some of you soon.
Excellent. Thank you, Alan. And again, thank you ever so much for spending time with us today to share some of your journey and to share some of your experiences and your knowledge as well. Really thankful for that. And thanks very much, Alan.
Thank you very much, Patrick. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Cheerio. Thank you for spending time with us today. This has been brought to you by the Case Mastermind Group. Please be sure to follow us in the links to this message. Please give your real, honest feedback on what you have just heard and share what you enjoyed or liked the best. We really do check the feedback that we receive. Please also share with your friends who you believe could benefit from it, just to show you care. To our listeners, remember, no matter where you are on the mountain of success, let's enjoy the journey together to the top. We will see you there, my friends.